Welcome to Cluj Innovation Days 2022. I am Paula Comanescu, SME coordinator within Cluj IT Cluster, and it is my great privilege to invite you to today's session. In the previous film, you had the chance to see what the project UFO was about. And now we invite our distinguished guests to talk about their experience behind the scenes of how they are making innovation happen with the support of the UFO funded project. I invite my colleague Gisela Sanchez from Finance Innovation France to take over and moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula, for this introduction and for having us here during these Innovation Days. We are really glad. So I will just present myself very briefly. I am Gisela Sanchez, and I'm project manager with Finance Innovation. We are a cluster-based, a digital finance cluster based in Paris. We have been working, as Paula said, with the UFO project. We have been leading the private funding part, so trying to match SMEs to investors. So saying that, I just want to maybe make a short introduction about today's roundtable and what we will discuss, even though Paul already said some words. As we mentioned, this is part of the UFO project. This is a European Commission's Horizon 2020 program, followed now by Horizon Europe. As you might know, it's a very competitive call. Only 11% or less than 11% of proposals that are submitted get this funding. This support research and innovation in various sectors of activities, including SMEs. So since the past 2.5 years, UFO has been implemented in order to support European SMEs to develop innovative products and services by integrating new technology solutions and know-how provided by combination of small flying objects For instance, drones, small satellites, high altitude platforms, and mix it with data analysis. We have particularly target 6 domains: so mobility, environment, blue growth, finance and insurance, climate, and digital and creative gaming, from 5 different countries: Bulgaria, France, Greece, Romania, and United Kingdom. So during these 2 years and a half, we have supported 25 projects and 65 SMEs for more than 3 million euros. So today, as Paula mentioned, the idea is to know what is behind the scene, to share the outcomes of these projects with you, to share the lessons learned during this working time, to discuss concretely also how this project impacts our lives, our daily lives, and how was also the cross-sectoral and cross-border collaboration between these projects. So I would like to introduce our speakers. I will go just one by one, and then I will just give the floor to each of them. So I'd like to introduce Alexis Smith. She's the CEO of a climate tech startup, chair of the Intellectual Property and Governance Committee for an IP aggregation company, and is in the data advisory group for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. She's passionate about stimulating creativity and innovation to affect change for a better world, while championing the diversity and inclusion within the workplace and technical industry at large. In 2019, she was recognized with the Geospatial World Startup of the Year award at the Geospatial World Forum in Amsterdam. Thank you, Alexis, to be with us. And I will introduce Veronica Vaida. She's an architect with a major interest in promoting traditional architecture and a sustainable lifestyle. Since 2013, she moved to the countryside of Transylvania, where she coordinates Monumentum association projects. The ambulance for Monumentum has been the most visible one. She's also involved in preserving the cultural landscape of rural areas by supporting and promoting the tangible and intangible heritage. And now I'll go to Petros Masouridis. He's a business development manager Europe with a strong background in management of European projects. He joined WALTR as a market researcher. Currently, from his base in Berlin, he puts his experience and understanding of the European ecosystem in practice to develop WALTR and expand business in the European market. He is the coordinator of the UFO project FLYCAIR, in collaboration, a collaboration between WALTR, a French company, and GeoSense, a Greek drones and drone services company with more than 20 years of experience. And last but not least, Paul Stevens is the CEO of Voltitude and the former head design for the Airbus Sapphire high altitude pseudo satellites program. He established Voltitude, a new company dedicated to unlocking the stratosphere, and leads the development of high-altitude platforms, technology applications, and payloads. And he has spent over 20 years developing and demonstrating high-altitude pseudo-satellite system and technology. Paul is a physicist by academic training and a chartered engineer specialized in system engineer for high-altitude pseudo-satellites. Thank you very much for being with us today. So what I would like to do now is just to know a little bit more of the projects you have been working with for the last months. So maybe I will start with you, Alexis. Can you tell us a little bit about BIOG, the project you have been working for a while?
Yeah, of course. So would you like me to do this presentation? Have you got it there that we can play? Or
We have it, Alexis. Yes,
Yes,
you can start talking and we will show it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That would be great. So, so the BIOG project is biodiversity in grasslands, and the whole idea is basically, can you take small flying objects, so drones and satellites, and measure biodiversity? That's the basic premise of the. Obviously, this is incredibly important for biodiversity metrics, which are very useful around things like carbon capture and carbon storage, but then also biodiversity and biodiversity degrade processing with dolphins and also rock hyraxes, which are like rock rabbits. And we use that data and those data processing skills to basically come up with a new metric, which is the Pemberton scale, which in essence can well, up to TRL5, that is, can, it's not a deliverable product, but up to TRL5, measure biodiversity using small objects. And that would only be able to be done with the help of the UFO project and you guys. So all we can say is thank you so much for that support and that trust in our ability to go and do that research. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you, Alexis. Thank you very much for the presentation. So I will go with Veronica. Maybe can you say some words about the 5-8?
Thank you. So the research project, five, yes, D, because I'm with 3D also, always in the mind. Documentation was implemented by three partners from Greece and one from Romania, Asociatia Monumentum, as the end user with the project Ambulance for Monuments. The project meant to establish a methodology that would allow getting accurate results on pathology issues and the conservation status of the historic buildings. With the help of the drones and the 360 cameras. In the images, you see our case study from Anosiros, a medieval settlement from Cyclades in Greece. It was a settlement completely scanned with the use of drone, but also with cameras by walking through the narrow streets.
Okay.
And so the outcome of the project was to have an innovative tool that can be used by authorities, NGOs, research institutions to get low cost, quickly, sustainable and accurate data and information for conservation and protection of the cultural heritage. The 3D model, as I said, was used with a joint technology, both from drones, but also with high precision scanners. As numbers, I would say about 18 flights were carried out, and the results were more than 3,000 photographs from the aerial space. And on the terrestrial, because the site is mainly accessible by foot, around nine trips were made and almost 5,000 images, 360 images were taken. So yeah, this is the idea of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. That's we were watching at the video at the same time. That's really impressive. So I will go with Petros, the project FLYCAIR. Can you tell us a little bit more about this project?
Hello, nice meeting you all and nice being here. It's like a environmental transformation transition company, as we want to say, of the economy, and our DNA is remote sensing and imagery. And Geosense, a company from Thessaloniki with more than 20 years of experience in drones and drone services. We came together in order to put this expertise together and create a service that, to be honest, it was more driven by user needs, by needs that we have identified with customers that both companies were working with already. And they needed a service that could be like, let's say, flexible in order to monitor air quality and easy to respond also in crisis. So the goal initially was to use our expertise in imagery and remote sensing and the ability that drones give you, and create and make air quality measurements by attaching the proper sensor cameras at first in a drone. It has grown, I would like to say, to be much more. it is already a service, but we have seen during the project a huge need for the service, and that the collaboration of drones with remote sensing can the results can say can be limitless. The applications can be limitless. So this resulted on having a very good collaboration with our partners and trying to find ways to do more and to scale up the project, let's say, hopefully.
Thank you, Petros. I will come back to you with a lot of some more questions regarding also the collaboration in some minutes. But before that, Paul, could you tell us a little bit about TMOS, the project that you have been working?
Hello. Hi. It's a great pleasure to have an opportunity to brief you on the project. So Project TMOS stands for Targeted Meteorological Observations from the Stratosphere. And it's a collaboration between Voltitude, the company I work for, who develop stratospheric platforms and payloads and things, and a composite manufacturing company who could produce a very lightweight housing for us. And the project was really all about developing a micro drop sonde, which is a little environmental monitoring sensor, really tiny, weighs about 20 grams, and it's dropped from the stratosphere with a little ribbon drogue that makes sure it descends safely and at a low enough speed. And it samples temperature, pressure, humidity, and wind speed. So just like a normal weather balloon. But the advantage of this is that you can mount them in a very small place with low mass in large quantities on stratospheric platforms. And you can make those stratospheric platforms go to remote areas of the world and collect this really high resolution data and provide that data from really the middle of nowhere to meteorologists, so it can plug the gap in their knowledge as to what's happening in the global weather systems and give them the tools to create more accurate forecasts. So the goal was to create more accurate weather forecasts using high resolution observations collected by platforms in the stratosphere, which drop little sensors through the atmosphere and gather that data and disseminate it to the people who need it.
Thank you.
My video's still going.
Thank you
I
very
talked too fast.
No, it's perfect. Thank you. It's very clear, Paul. So maybe I will now make some questions about how all these 4 projects can come more concretely to daily life. How maybe you can share with us some use cases about this. So Veronica, maybe we can start with you. Maybe you can tell us some use cases that you can have, or just know in general how also the use of drones have changed the conservation and protection of cultural heritage.
Yeah, thank you. I will briefly present the project Ambulance for Monuments, so you understand the situation that we use. So Ambulance for Monuments is a first aid for endangered historical buildings run by professionals and with the participation of volunteers, usually students, but not only, and with the support of the local community and local administration. Usually they are providing accommodation and offering the construction materials. So in this respect, we are helping them with doing the documentation for the building that is meant to be restored. So first of all, for us, 3D photogrammetry, usually the interior of the buildings with the drones, because the walls are usually thick. So we combine the drones also with terrestrial LiDAR for more accurate data from the inside to have a very exact 3D model of the building. And okay, so this is just the model of the building. The second would be the evaluation and monitoring of the building in the areas that we don't have access by so it's not easy accessible. So we can document the pathology and damages in a very easy and sustainable way. Okay, and of course there is the film that you see, because a large part of our project consists in promotion of the cultural heritage and awareness raising, and also fundraising. This was a building, abandoned building that is preserved now, is in the process in the northern Romania. And we have made a major crowdfunding with the use of images from the drones, just for promoting the building. And I would say the last thing is where we use drones are the documenting the process of itself, of the restoration, the hands-on knowledge transfer. So when we work on the roofs, it's very easy to document what we do with the drones. So we also can share the knowledge of traditional knowledge through this. So I would see this four major sectors that we use in heritage.
Of course, this looks like very like indeed that had helps a lot to the protection also and promotion, as you mentioned. Okay, thank you very much, Veronica, for sharing this with us. And now I'll go to Paul. You mentioned that there's a lot of, but you mentioned some use cases about what you are doing and the air quality, but you said that there is a lot of other things that can be done with this. What other use cases could you share with us? So how can we see that the project you have been working with FLYCAIR, how can impact our life, our daily life, or the people's life in a daily basis?
Okay, it's about me, right? It's Petros.
I think so.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Because I got confused a bit.
I'm sorry.
So yeah,
Yes.
where to start? So about air quality, measuring air quality, knowing the levels of air pollution is important for everyone. It improves the quality of life. It improves the life expectancy. It is good. There is not much things to say about this. About emission sources, though. Emission sources, it's something that maybe I neglect to mention before, and that also FLYCAIR helps a lot in order to identify and monitor them, is the only way that you can act. Because like measuring air quality, it's like, okay, putting a thermometer, you know that you have a problem and you measure the level of the problem. But in order to treat that problem, you need to find the source of the problem. So to do so, you need to find the emission source. So with a drone, you have a mobile unit. So a drone with a sensor, let's say, can take the place of hundreds of spots, let's say, of measurements. A drone with a camera can take the place of thousands of spots, hundreds of spots, thousands of spots, with more or less the same costs. Let's say it's an improvement in the methodology. So by doing so, we know where to act. At the same time, what is very important and what was the initial need for FLYCAIR is the price, is the budget. You know that there are big cities or very engaged cities or industries that are supposed to or doing it because they want to, that have the budget and have the ability to have like a lot of sensors to do measurements, to have like the infrastructure or the human resources. At the same time, small and medium cities and small and medium industries lack this ability and the budget. So with a flexible and mobile service like FLYCAIR, you can create methodologies in order, okay, to some extent provide the service of monitoring of emissions detection, identification, and monitoring, or find the best way to start with an initial budget, the best spot to start acting, start measuring, and then go on. So it is It is a service that gives like people, businesses, and officials the ability to start acting at least. Then, if we go to crisis management, an urban fire, or something like this that happens not as rarely as we want it, it happens often. Yeah, also it can be a very good response system. This is also one of the options that we want to further develop as an example. And just quickly, for the last one of the demonstrations and the pilot projects that were done was chosen to be in the city of Kavala, near Thessaloniki, that is the headquarters of the partner company Geoscience, because, for example, Kavala is a city of 70,000 people that faces air pollution. They know they have problems. People complain about this because they have a port that during the summer it is a lot of traffic, even with big cruise ships, and they have a very nearby industry activity. And we were able to identify these problems because up to now there was no equipment to do so, and also to make first conclusions about how to act and what is the best way for further monitoring.
Thank you. Thank you, Petros. This is very interesting. I'll go on with Alexis. You are the only, as you mentioned, you are the only project of the Fourth of Us that you made feasibility projects. All the
Yes.
other, they were working on demonstration projects, but you were on the feasibility part. So, what will be next for you now? You shared a little bit of the outcome, but what can you tell us that what will be next for BIOG now?
It's a really good question, Gisela. So we took the data and we've taken the learnings from this, and we're looking for extra funding now to actually go up from TRL 5 up to TRL 7 or 8 or whatever we can do, but over taking the methodology, which is a completely novel way to measure something. So you don't need to identify each feature, you can measure it by understanding the difference, if that makes sense, rather than understanding each feature and looking and doing that in a traditional methodology. So we use that, and we're looking for funding as it goes at the moment. But we're also, in parallel to that, BioCap, which is one of the partners that we're working with, they've been doing a whole load of amazing work on the ground using traditional methods so that we have a baseline to then compare against. So there's a big project that we're doing at the Sulham Estate near Reading in the United Kingdom. And that project is transforming huge amounts of farmland and also non-used sort of scrubland into species-rich meadows. So there'll be an increased potential outcome of 78 hectares of species-rich meadow. There'll be an increase of 11 hectares of scrubland. Alongside that, an increase of 40 hectares of woodland, and also 2 hectares of wetlands and water features, as well as hedgerows and other things. But the whole thing will be a really interesting project to follow over the next few years, but also to show how small flying objects can also really help people on the ground and the local community, because there's a lot of interaction between the local community and then being able to access that land and use it for recreational purposes, or to do training on or teaching on for scouts and lots of different commercial sort of community-led initiatives that are working alongside the owners of the grassland. And obviously to get the sort of credits from the UK government, you need to be able to measure this stuff. And that's where we come in. And that's hopefully in the next few years, we can actually properly start measuring over scale the improvements or not, and that's something that's going to be incredibly important for the world. I'm going to end on a great sort of quote from the United Nations, which is, from each ecosystem-based approach to climate change and or nature-based solutions to climate. So for everything, including health issues, food, water security, and even sustainable livelihoods, biodiversity is the foundation upon which we can build back better. And that's so true. If we get biodiversity right, we've solved a lot of other problems. And that will help with the pollution and also all the other stuff that everyone else is doing here. I really do believe that.
Thank you, Alexis. That's a really nice quotation. just to finish this first round, sorry, of questions, Paul. Now, what other use cases maybe you can share with us regarding? I know that the project was about the global weather forecast, but do you see other perspective for that can impact actually concretely our lives?
Yes, certainly. So the original concept was all about getting really high resolution data from places like the middle of the oceans where there are no other sources of high quality sensor. I mean, spacecraft fill the gap a bit. They've got really great horizontal coverage, but they don't have the really fine vertical resolution which meteorologists need to produce a really accurate forecast. And through the UFO project, we were able to engage in the data end users to identify priority use cases. And they ranged from the tropical storm season in the Atlantic, where we are embarking next year on a project to launch balloons which take our dropsondes across the Atlantic and drop them into growing and intensifying tropical storms. And that helps to create better forecasts of where they will make landfall in North America, but also increasingly the ones that don't make landfall in North America but come across the Atlantic back up to Europe and hit Europe as an intense summer storm, which of course Europe is not prepared for, but the climatologists say this is going to happen more and more. So it allows us to have really great foresight as to when these extreme weather events will occur. And another scenario, which is particularly of relevance to Europe, is to fill in the gaps over the polar region in wintertime when it's always dark and there's very few sensors except for spacecraft going overhead. But to get fine resolution in the stratosphere and the troposphere allows meteorologists to do really much more accurate forecasts. And that's really where a lot of European weather comes from in the winter period, is what's going on in the Arctic. And there's increasingly, I'll drop some buzzwords in there, but phenomenon like sudden stratospheric warming is a phenomenon where suddenly the winters that we know and love are greatly changed by an effect up in the polar region, which again is becoming more prevalent because of climate change, and it causes very cold air to come to locations where cold air is not normally experienced, and it moves warm air to areas where it should be cold. And so the whole system gets messed up really, and it's becoming more and more frequent. So these systems will help to improve forecast accuracy, improve specialized forecast products because they are very targeted observations. And one of the things for the future that we're looking at, which I think has some synergy with pollution monitoring, of what we just heard about, we're looking at and researching the feasibility of integrating an aerosol and particulate sensor onto the little dropson device, so that we can measure on a large scale dust content, volcanic ash, Sahara dust, pollen, industrial pollution, and factor those measurements into the weather forecast. So those properties of the atmosphere are largely unmonitored at the moment at large scale, and to be able to capture that data will be another tool for meteorologists and climate scientists.
Wow, that's a very, very nice perspective. Well, thank you for sharing this with us. So now we said that we wanted to discuss also about the cross-sector and even cross-border collaboration that has been happening during this project, because some of you have worked with projects that with companies, SMEs, other SMEs that come from other sector, but also that come from other countries. It's the case of two projects of you. So let's discuss a little bit of how this impacts the organization, how this what were their challenge or the lessons learned about this. So maybe Veronica, I can start with you. You work, as you mentioned, with 3 Greek companies. You based in Romania. How did you manage? How the organization managed this cross-border and sector collaboration? What did you learn about this? it was the first time actually that you work with companies from other countries.
Yes, thank you. So for us as an NGO, it was the first European project that we participated at. So it was very important that our partner that from Greece that was coordinating the project had the previous experience. So they guided us through the process. Otherwise, we didn't have the courage to do it because we are a very small NGO and mainly working with collaborators. So yes, it was important because we had the technological support. So Hermes previously has have done. It was also heritage related, but they had previously done some documentation of the old buildings. So they had we had the link between technology and historic buildings. Also, GET was, I heard, it's a big company that is doing geoterrestrial scanning and project. So they came with a very strong technological background. And the other partner, JGC, they were selling the high technology, last technology drones and software. So they helped a lot at the end to put all the data together of the site. So we found the right software to really do the 3D scanning and have a very accurate data. Also, we from our 3D we can measure the length of each building. And the benefits of the project would be that we have one person from our team trained with the new methodologies that we haven't used before. And also we have two drones that we will further use. So, and I would mention another, let's say, successful story because our project was visited during an intervention by the National Geographic footage about Romania, and later they asked us to send them the final footages with the drones. So we have used the drones that we had from the project to send them the final footages.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, so it was a very successful experience so far as I understand. Thank you,
Yeah.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Petros, you were more or less in the same scenario. You also work with another company from another sector and another country. What could you share with us? How was the experience? What did you learn?
Still learning.
Always.
Yes. So for us, it was also, I would say, if not the first, let's say one of the first cross-border collaborative projects that we did. However, WALTR is, as I said, is a startup based in Toulouse. We have people and offices in Nantes. I am Greek. I'm based in Berlin, and our partner was from Greece. So we have in very high esteemed, let's say, the need for cross-border collaboration. It is the only way to understand it and have insights about, the cross-national, intra-European community in the business, as a market, because even if it is like some tens of years old, it is still a new thing. And doing this type of collaborations, first of all, helps you understand different type of markets, helps you understand different ways of acting, and moreover, it helps you have a presence there also. So, given the cross-border thing, let's say the most tangible thing is that both companies now have, let's say, at least a toe, if not a foot, to one another's country. As far as the cross sector is more or less the same. For us, the drones sector, it was a thing that we were thinking about. Now we know about. We in our strategy planning, we have included. At the same time, we know how the companies that have been like for many years in this sector think, how the market is structured. These are crucial insights for a new company. At the same time, and I will dare to give some thoughts that our partners probably have, but they have told me that. I hope it was not only because they were polite. So for a company that is like established, being with a startup with a mindset of new innovative methodologies and everything, they give them also a boost, and they give them also like a grasp of the new reality on the sector, at least for the environmental sector and air quality that we are present. Yeah, I could go on for hours, but we can do it afterwards in the Q&A,
Yes, thank you, Petros. This is also very positive.
It is very interesting. It is very interesting, the cross-border and the cross-sectoral. It is a bit more difficult, of course, using like a third language. We use English. It's French, Greece. It's a third language to collaborate. It is always can be frustrating, can be difficult, but it's something that we need to start and working on it, especially for a company that the goal is to grow. This is something that must be done.
I totally agree with you. This is necessary. So, Alexis, in your case, it was you were two UK partners, so it was not cross-border collaboration, but you have some cross-sector collaboration. How was your experience? The challenges, or how was? What did you learn about this new collaboration?
It's a really interesting question because, as you said, we didn't do sort of cross-border. So we worked with local people. So BioCap is a charity, and the reason we did the project was because BioCap is trying to help the local area. So that's Berkshire, round sort of Reading area, to try and increase biodiversity and trying to help with the UK government's large plans. But the learning that I got as being sort of a data geek and not being an ecologist, and I don't have green fingers, is that there are a lot of, it was very interesting watching how the ecologists do their surveys, and they literally go and walk in a field. It's an amazing job. They walk in a field and they look at flowers and plants in the sun, and they sit around and they count stuff, and it's an amazing thing to watch. And it's amazing. It's very, very relaxing and lovely to see. But also their knowledge was mind blowing. The detail of even things like buttercups. I don't know if you have them around, but there's sort of little yellow flowers that we have in the UK a lot on chalklands. I didn't realise this, but there are loads of different varieties. So it's just an amazing learning experience on the depth of knowledge needed to solve a problem. And then what I found quite interesting was working with these ecologists and working with people and actually trying to break down how you can get computers and automate systems like this. If you try and just automate the manual system, it doesn't work. Well, that's what we found, is that it didn't work. So we had to come up with a new way of doing it to enable the feasibility to take place, and a new way of measuring that still solved the problem, which was measuring difference, because that's what we were doing. We were measuring difference, but not doing it by understanding what each individual part was. So we were measuring the difference, not feature extraction, which is where we got to, which was trying to explain that to an ecologist was quite interesting. And I guess the other thing that we learned from that was that their skill set is incredibly useful And we couldn't have done this project without them. But it doesn't mean that they will not have jobs in the future. What it means is their job will slightly change. So they'll be there to use around the QA process and around making sure the systems work and all the other things. But it will enable that scalability, which is needed to do such massive surveys, whilst at the moment there just aren't the amount of trained people to do the work that's needed. So that's why, you know, projects like UFO and small flying objects are needed.
Thank you, Alexis. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Paul, what about you? It was the same case scenario as Alexis, as it was not a cross-border project, but also both based on the UK. What are you feeling? What can you share with us about the lessons learned or the challenges about this experience?
Yes, yeah. So a small admission, we came very late to the UFO challenge, and we wanted to be a 3-party collaboration, but unfortunately we weren't able in time to get our third party in. But fortunately, we were able to conduct the project, and it still allowed us to create bridges with way more organizations and institutions than we ever considered possible. So it's been a really great way to open doors, to say that you are working on a grant-funded project that's sourced from the European Union, and that allowed us so many doors to open across Europe. And that allowed us to talk to meteorologists from all over Europe and to start to explore regional use cases and better understand the requirements, to get them in early, to ensure that the product became useful from the word go. And so that was the thing that was really powerful, was the impact of a project funded in this way had in terms of allowing a really great environment to approach large organizations that would eventually benefit from this technology. I don't think it would have been possible if we had approached them as a private company without the UFO funding. So that was the sort of big takeaway about the collaboration. And it wasn't just our immediate formal collaboration, but the ability to informally collaborate with so many other organizations.
Yeah, I think that's what was one of the objectives behind everything. Thank you, Paul. I'll go through the last round of questions. Just to conclude, I would like to ask to each of you actually, just one piece. What would be the one piece of advice that you can give to SMEs that want to explore actually European projects? What you will advise to each SME that is participating today at the webinar? So Alexis, maybe I will start with you this time. What will be the one thing or the one piece of advice that you can say?
So I guess, so just checking that the question is correct. The one piece of advice that you would give to people applying for things in the future? I guess
that could be that also, but it could be also yes, to the people that is trying to explore European projects and maybe it's not yet sure. That could be also in that direction. What do you would say to encourage them if they're not sure yet?
Right. I would say just keep applying. So it's a numbers game. So just keep apply different things and learn from. So the feedback from different applications, if you get feedback, learn from it and treat the journey as a learning experience. And it helps develop the business model and the what you're doing and also what people are interested in and what people are funding. So my one piece of advice, don't stop, keep trying.
Thank you, Alexis. What about you, Paul? What will be your takeaway or your advice for the SMEs?
So my advice is very personal, which is that I'm from a very technical background and I love talking about technology. And this often, people are very polite, but quite often you can tell people are glazing over and you start to lose impact. And that's the key, is that you've got to somehow change your pitch from one of technology to the impact of the technology and not forget that. Really, it's difficult for technical people to do this, but your pitches must be impact based. And the other thing is echoing what we just heard, which is not to give up. and even the smallest grant can be the biggest door opener to your company's future. And that's exactly what we found with the UFO project, was the number of doors it opened, the number of opportunities that it's opened, and it's really transformed our company and the relationships we've made through the project.
Thank you very much, Paul. This is very nice to hear. But what about you, Veronica?
So first of all, I would say to get a partner that has previous experience with European funds. It was very important for us. And I think we were very precautioned at the beginning when we were asked to get to be in the project. So they have found us after we have won a European Heritage Award, and we didn't know previously our partners, so it was our first collaboration by any means. But it was a very fruitful collaboration, cross-sector with also cross borders, and I highly recommend to get out of your bubble and just look from the outside to your area. Yeah.
Thank you, Veronica. And Petros, what about you?
Yeah, of course, I don't have many things to add. All of the above should be the correct answer. Just a note that, yeah, getting out of the bubble can, as Veronica said, can be tricky and difficult, but it's very important. And trust, like, go for it, even if you don't have to know your partner like for decades before. Sometimes you need to act quickly. It's a very fast ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Petros. Thank you very much to the four of you, because you have said a lot of very interesting questions. I think what we have learned a lot about what happened in your projects, what happened. Actually, each of you is a history, it's takeaway for every company or every other SME that can be watching. Just to mention that I think we will be meeting on the showcase event in London, so we will see each other in person there. So it'll be very nice. I don't know. Now I give the floor to Paula. I don't know if there are some questions for the audience.
Yes. Hello. So we have one question from the audience, and I think it's more directed to you, Gisela. Will it be any other UFO open call for collaborative projects this year?
Regarding UFO, let's say the
Yes, if UFO will have any other open call.
Fortunately, no. We have already done 2 open calls. Actually, UFO is getting at the end of the project. The project will be finished next year in March, and we will have the final showcase event in November. Actually, with the people is present now, and the one we will showcase the project they have been working for during this time. So no, but hopefully, I hope that we will manage to work just to get other projects on this topic. Maybe we also with Cluj IT. So hopefully in the future, yes.
Yes, definitely. I must say it has been a very fruitful partnership, and I am very, very happy to hear about the great results from the projects that have been selected for funding. And I really look forward to the 29th of November, when we will be meeting in London with all our projects and with potential customers for our projects and potential investors for the project that we have selected. And we'll have the chance to bring even more forward the great ideas that have become reality with the support of the Horizon 2020 funded project UFO. I really thank you all. It has been an amazing session, and for us, as the first session of Cluj Innovation Days 2022, it's really, really, we are honored to have the chance to give this first idea of the success stories that can be made reality through the through innovation, developing innovation, providing support for innovation in all various areas. We at Cluj Innovation Days are at the 10th edition, and we also celebrate 10 years since Cluj IT Cluster exists. So we are very grateful to celebrate with you all. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Petros, Paul, and Gisela. And let's keep in touch for any further potential opportunities. Join us tomorrow in the next sessions of Cluj Innovation Days, as we still have left amazing speakers and inspiring experiences around innovation in the most diverse areas of applications. Join us. Registration is still available on clujinnovationdays.com. Thank you very much, and I wish you all an amazing afternoon. Goodbye.
Thank you too all. It was a pleasure. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.